It's Development Assets Resource Network. And Marguerite Jade is going to be the presenter today.
Hello. Actually, it kind of started that way. It started out as a school counselor coming to me when my son was in kindergarten and saying, hey, the district is starting this developmental assets thing. Can you guys do anything about getting jackets for kids who don't have jackets? And I was like, yeah, sure. And the rest of the group was like, well, no. And I'm like, really? Like, we're going to talk about 40 developmental assets, and you worry about whether kids, take piano lessons, but you don't care if they have a jacket? Because if they don't have a jacket, they probably didn't have breakfast, right? Like, there's a lot that comes with not having a jacket. So from that, I went to a meeting and said, I think that if we're going to be a part of this group needs to be able to provide whatever kids have. And people say, well, in Bexley, kids don't need everything. Bexley has everything. And you would be surprised in Bexley that there are kids who don't have a lot. And it's particularly hard to be poor in Bexley because the assumption is that everybody has everything. And that's how the schools engage, and that's how the city engages, that everybody should be able to pay for everything. And we have a lot of kids who can't, and then get really left out of what happens. And so we started with jackets, and it was just like 3 of us, and Sheila, and said, we can do jackets. We can make that happen. And then they said, well, there's also kids who don't have school supplies, or there are kids that don't have bikes, or the kids that can't go to summer camp, or there's kids. And so it sort of evolved out of this, and it was just sort of 3, moms who got together, and so darn was kind of a joke because we had to go to those darn meetings. And so as we grew, people were like, you probably should change the name. And I don't know, and I was like, we're 10 years into it, it is what it is. So it is a darn meeting. And that's how we got to the name. So over the time, we've been able to partner really well with both the city and with the rec department. So we have done lots of things in terms of making sure that if there's a kid who's going to be home alone, they can go to summer camp. If there's a kid who's in that teenage year, too old for summer camp, but needs something to do, we'll make sure they have a pool pass, so they're part of the teen camp. Or, whatever. Get a bike, get a job, we'll figure it out. Like, basically what happens is the school counselor calls us and says, we have this situation and we did this. And we send out an email to the board. There's not 7 of us on the board. The email comes back and we go, okay, we can do that. We can provide tutoring. We can provide a kid to make sure they can go to camp. We can kind of do whatever. And what's happened is the rec department has then sort of developed their own scholarship fund that really didn't exist before. So now we partner with the rec department. They put on a poker party and they do some 5Ks, and we stand around and hand out drinks. And then they created their own rec scholarship fund. So a lot of it they have funded themselves. Like, we don't have to fund it anymore. The same sort of things have happened in the schools. We partner with the schools to help them change their policies to make sure that they're more inclusive. So you can't expect kids to all come with musical instruments. So you need to make sure, if you're going to offer a music program, that if a kid wants to play clarinet, you figure out how to give them a clarinet. And we can help you with that, but you need to own that process. And the school, over time, the school district has become better at owning the process, right? Making sure everybody has school supplies, making sure everybody has the musical instruments. And they're starting even to the fact where my daughter's in the orchestra, they went to perform at the governor's show, and the school's gotten to the point in some places where when they send an email out, we're going to go to North Market for lunch. We don't want any child to not come on this trip because they can't pay for lunch, right? So if you need lunch, let us know. If you need money help, we'll make sure that your child can go to lunch, right? So that didn't used to happen in Bexley, right? The assumption was we'd send out an email, everybody would bring their money, and the kids who didn't have it would not stay home, right? Wouldn't show up, right? So trying to change the culture of the community that was inclusive to make sure that everybody can participate. That's awesome. If you can't see it. So basically the mission of DARN is to make sure that everybody has the resources they need to be successful, right? And that's kind of what we do. That's sort of the history. We have a board, we're a 503, whatever, 501c3, we're all of those things. And we walk this very fine line of trying to stay under the radar, because, there's Bexley's small. And so if you give me a jacket and I give it to somebody else, you're likely to see that jacket, right? So we're very particular about making sure that what we send on is generic. So if we get very unique items, we pass them outside Bexley. If we get things that, are from Old Navy, where there's 12,000 of them, then we can give them out within Bexley. But we try to be very careful to make sure that kids are not identified. So, and a perfect example of what Dawn does is we got a call in February from a high school counselor said, we got kind of an emergency. We have a mother and a son who are going to move next week, and they're taking nothing. So they're moving from a house in Bexley to an apartment in Bexley, and they're taking nothing. Not a towel, not a set of sheets. They're just moving. So within 2 weeks, we were able to outfit an entire apartment. 3 old ladies, a couple of some teenagers who weren't really happy about it, and in about 4 hours, we're able to outfit sheets, bedding, towels, kitchen, like to the point where we were almost getting more stuff than, some of the stuff we had to sort of re-give to the Bishop Griffin Center. More stuff. Most of it, and the nice thing about in Bexley is there's a lot of resources there. So a lot of it we could get donated. We bought, new sheets, we bought new mattresses, and that's the kinds of things that the money you donate to us goes to. We do a lot of resource reallocation, but there's some things that we want new, right? And so that's where the money goes. But within driving around 4 old ladies or 3 old ladies, a truck, making some phone calls, hey, I heard you guys renovated, you got anything you want to give away? Literally driving by people's houses and picking up couches on the way. That's kind of would be the example of mostly what we do. That has the money that we use in the given year, but you can't see it. We got 120 bikes donated last year. We had a kid who used it as their bar mitzvah project. In addition to, we have a bike drop-off that occurred last weekend. We have a guy who's taken it on. People drop off their bikes as part of the Bexley cleanup. This guy takes it. That service group at the high school comes. They'll come in 2 weeks. They fix all the bikes. We give away bikes, helmets, locks to anybody basically at this point, because we have kind of a bike surplus. Anybody who thinks they might want a bike, we have one. And then we give the rest to men's homeless shelter, right? So we give away what we need. We don't hold on to a lot of stuff, and we just pass it along. So we've been really appreciative. This is the second year, or third, it's actually been several years. I think we have been the King Thompson recipient. And I think it's really great because it's such a local charity that helps, such a small community and such a local charity that